All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Brother Leroy can always find the best in everybody to bring out. And he would have to bring out, as controversial as Jeremiah Wright is, he would have to bring up Jeremiah Wright, right? But I'm really glad to be here this afternoon. I've been coming to this writer's workshop for some years now, both as a panelist and as one imbibing in the audience like most of you, and it's been a wonderful experience. I'm also glad to be here because those who are being honored today are among my heroes and sheroes this evening, Ishmael Reed and those others who are going to be honored this evening. We also have, I'm also glad to be here because we have a very not only distinguished but diverse group of panelists who are really extremely well-versed in politics, but also have made their own marks in political writing in various genres. I'm going to introduce them, not in a particular order, but I'd ask you to raise your hand when I call your name. Our first panelist I recognize is Anthony Grooms, who really identifies himself as a writer of conscience, as he puts it, a writer of conscience. And he writes on a variety of subjects in several genres, from historical fiction to science fiction. But however, his most notable writing has been in the American Civil Rights Movement. And some of you might be familiar with his fine work, Birmingham, a novel set in a period, civil rights, in the legacy of the civil rights period. Also, he's written Trouble No More, a collection of stories, and Ice Poems, which is not about coolness, it is a poetry chapbook. Next we have Rev Conrad Tillard, who is to my immediate left, who is the author of the recently published, soon to be published, My Father's House, a memoir of the man once called Conrad Muhammad. He started his career as a student activist with the National Student Coordinator in the '84 presidential campaign of Reverend Jesse Jackson. And in 1998, he founded a Movement for Change, a youth organization, which is credited by many with creating the thrust of hip-hop political activism. I first met him when he was minister of Muhammad's Mosque in Harlem, a stalwart activist. And he's followed his convictions. He now serves as the senior pastor of Nazarene Congregational Church, UCC, United Church of Christ Congregation in Brooklyn. I've been, had the pleasure and the honor of participating in some political forums there. So he is among the too few politically oriented and politically radical activist pastors in the Christian church. Next to him is Keli Goff. Keli Goff is a political commentator, and many of you have seen her on national and international news programs, including the CBS. She's been on CBS, the early show, the Joy Behar show. She's been on BET. She was on MSNBC. It seemed like every day during the Obama campaign, and our paths have crossed not only on panels, but we honored to be published in the same collection as Keli, a fine collection on President Obama's race speech. Recall that? His More Perfect Union speech. The book is called The Speech, Race and Barack Obama's A More Perfect Union. And she is the author of the book published last year, a political novel, The GQ Candidate. So we welcome her very much. We have Dr. Michael Simanga, who is a multidisciplined artist, a scholar, a arts administrator, an activist. He is director of the Fulton County Department of Arts and Culture.
Former.
There in, pardon me?
Former director.
Former director.
Now director of the National Black Arts Festival.
Now?
Director of the National Black Arts Festival.
That's right, yes. He's now director of the National Black Arts Festival, which, you know, is major, major. I'm glad, brother, because I've been enjoying that for decades. But while he was at the Fulton County Department of Arts and Culture, he made a tremendous impact. He produced in over 200 cultural events, including plays and exhibitions and festivals, films. He also has a doctorate in African American Studies, and he's the author of the fine, widely acclaimed novel In the Shadow of the Sun. And he is co-editor of the recently released, very important book, anthology, titled 44 on 44, 44 African American Writers on the Election of Barack Obama as 44th President of the United States. And last we have Sister Hooper, whom I have here before me. And, you know, some folk are just so distinguished that, you know, sometimes it gives you a minute, it takes a minute to get yourself wrapped around them. That is Lita Hooper. You like the way I segued into that, right? Lita Hooper is a poet, playwright, and an educator, and her work has appeared in numerous anthologies. And she is a co-editor with Michael Simanga and others of 44 on 44. She has published a collection of poems called Thunder in Her Voice, the narrative of Sojourner Truth. And she has been a featured reader at numerous colleges across the country, including Spelman and Morehouse College and Savannah State University. And she has also been involved in many writing workshops as a participant and an instructor. Very important political voice. And that concludes our panel. Please welcome all of our panelists. Thank you. That concludes my introductions of the panel. So as you can see, we have a very diverse panel with diverse approaches to literary genre and literary modes of expression with regard to politics and the political. So to be able to take full advantage of, or really to fully get the full benefit from the range of viewpoints and genres represented in the work of this panelist, I will open with a very broad open question that I will ask each of the panelists to answer in turn from their own perspectives and in whatever way they choose. Now we're gonna have a real democratic panel here. Hope our right-wing brothers and sisters are watching. They might learn something about letting everybody's voice be equally heard and valued. But first, let me offer a couple of general clarifying definitions. A helpful, although certainly not an exhaustive definition of black literature, is that it is comprised of fiction and nonfiction writings, including serious journalism, that emanate from black people's experiences. For our purposes today, when we talk about black experiences, we'll be referring to black people's experiences in America. I think that's a useful working and a basic working definition. Politics, as we will use this term this afternoon, does not refer to electoral politics, although popular political attitudes do tend to influence electoral politics, but usually not in a fully predictable straight line fashion. Rather, as we will use these terms today, politics and the political refer to the confluences of those factors that influence and often determine the distribution of wealth and power and resources and authority and social and economic class in society. These factors can be structural, like inscribed institutional and social structures. They can be relational, like economic and social relationships. And they can be cultural, including popular culture and religion and so forth. So when we talk about the relationship between politics and black literature today, what we will be talking about is how institutional and social structures and modes of expression and economic and social relationships are reflected in black literature, how they influence black literature, and conversely, how politics and political attitudes and consciousness are affected by black literature. These processes can variously be overt and subtle, volitional and reflexive, conscious and unconscious, propagandistic and introspective, and so on. However, in whatever combination, and in varying ways and to varying degrees, these factors essentially comprise the relationship between politics and black